right, one guy crying, that's cool. But when finally it's like, come on,
Can we
man.
get a guy that has had no hardship in his life?
And what I thought of when I was watching it, although I didn't watch as much of the draft as I might have, and I'll get to that in a minute, it's like the Olympics on television in the United States. Every package that they do about one of these Olympians, there's some kind of horrendous backstory that they've had.
It's like
I'm like
behind the music. There's always every artist on the bottom. Coming up, the band falls, so and so, and later, tragedy strikes the band.
That's it.
It's always,
it's somebody, their mom. I'm not diminishing these stories, but I mean, you really just kind of yearn for. Oh yeah, my parents were there for me all the time, and it was a good, stable. I didn't have any mental depression.
I knew pretty early on I was going to be great.
I'm
absolutely not
I expected to be here. So yeah,
because what it made me think of is, and this is not a humble brag. It's going to sound like one. During the last Winter Olympics, my wife and I were in the Bahamas, and for whatever reason, at the resort we were at, which is Atlantis, we actually kind of won a trip. It wasn't free, but it was. Don't ever go to Atlantis, by the way, unless you are a millionaire.
I heard it's huge. Right?
It's also unbelievably
like Disneyland.
Expensive to do anything whatsoever. But for whatever reason, we had what's the TSN? Isn't that what the Canadian?
Canadian, that's
right?
ESPN.
So we had
network,
TSN during the Olympics, and it was so refreshing because you know what was on the Olympic coverage?
Highlights.
Sports.
Oh yeah,
there were just games and skating and curling and no features.
Right.
Like no Canadian. Maybe the Canadians are all too normal. We know they're super normal. So
no hardship up there.
No, so it was like
Canadians
we're getting
a little less jingoistic than the average
we're getting
American
sports and. Yes, and we don't have to have a feature about the trials and tribulations of the person who's about to skate for the title.
Yeah.
Oh, I was bulimic and overcame this and overcame. Come on.
He was born with no head.
Yeah. Well,
somehow became a champion skater.
And so Woodland's backstory was, I couldn't putt, and now all of a sudden he can. So has he had this? I mean, has he been putting well all year, or did it just happen at Pebble Beach?
Putting better, but he putted great.
And they were all. I mean, his best putts were par putts, right? They were par saves. That's how he won it.
When they were at the end there, and Koepka had a long putt for birdie that would have, and they were.
It wasn't that long, actually. On 18,
well, a decent, but not a chip in.
Not
an easy one. Had that putt for birdie, and Woodland had the long
chip on the green.
Were you thinking we're going to be tied?
I was thinking there was trouble. Now I didn't think the chip shot was that impossible. First of all, it wasn't on the green. It wasn't on the green. It was on the fringe, which made it a little bit easier. So there's a little bit more grass. So, I mean, it was a tough shot. Don't get me wrong.
I think a lot of people that don't golf or golf a little saw that and like, I couldn't do that. When I think, that's a comfortable shot for all those pros. They can clip it. They can pull it off. Now, look, are they going to
generally the fringe areas on the fairways are sometimes as tight as almost the greens.
Yes,
for a professional golfer.
Agreed.
So.
And so now, are they all going to put it within 2 feet or whatever?
No.
But I mean, it's not like he was knee knocking over the shot, right? He, like you said, he had it in the week before that, and these guys, all of them have had that shot in their back. It just looked cool because you don't usually see that, right?
Right. I've done it. Jeff Montgomery told a funny story about doing it. I heard him with Kevin and at Pebble Beach, and he didn't want to. And he was on the green.
Yeah, you don't on that on 17.
I don't think it was 17, but it was on. He was on the green, not the fringe. And so he said to his caddy, he says, "I don't want to chip this.
Take a divot out."
And so the caddy says, "If you can jump over it, I'll fix it."
Wait,
so
what does that mean?
Like I don't care how much you laid the sod over it.
I'll be able
to fix it. If you can't jump over it, I think it was unless you can't jump over it, I can fix it. So he said he took a pretty big chunk of the green out. But
well, I mean, look, I mean, I'm thinking on that shot, I'm like, I would either skull that 50 yards, blade it, right, or just take out a huge divot on the pristine green. But yeah, he clipped it great, and it was a memorable shot.
It certainly was a memorable shot, and he's a wonderful guy too. And the thing is, when you see him on television, I've said this before, he kind of looks pretty cocky.
Yeah,
the way he walks around a golf course. Well, he's kind of got a
athletic face, right?
Right?
He's got
he's got that little basketball walk like
Yeah.
Dustin Johnson a little bit, but he's not like that.
No, he's not.
No, he's a very down to earth and nice guy and easy to root for.
How do you find the Fox coverage as compared to what you generally see? Do they do a nice job?
I don't dislike the Fox coverage. I like it, actually, because I'm not one of these people who has a big problem with Joe Buck.
Same.
I don't think he's great on golf, but he's okay, solid. And some of their other analysts are fantastic. I mean, Paul Azinger's great. Brett Faxon is super underrated, I think.
They had like Joel Klatt doing exit
Joel Klatt
interviews,
did
right?
Interviews, and he was fine. Sometimes it's a little weird that, like Joe Klatt, that's football. What's he doing? But, nobody says that about Jim Nance, who's mostly known as a football guy.
But not a player
right.
so much. So
and
when
he
a
was,
player does something, you think,
he was all right. So, yeah, I think it's fine. But, for instance, my wife likes to watch golf, and, we watch golf together, and she can't stand Joe Buck. She got swept up in the whole Royals thing.
Yeah, Madison
During that,
Bumgarner.
that's when you knew the Royals were a sensation, because I'm covering the Royals. I'm on the road the whole time, and I'm constantly getting texts from my wife about the Royals, and she doesn't care about baseball. Period. And then she starts sending me texts. Get this Joe Buck off the air, and I'm
Who's
like,
this hack?
What in the world? And then the crowning thing was the fact that she and a friend worked for hours and hours to get pretty close to the stage at the parade.
Yeah.
And I visited my parents in Boston after that, so I wasn't here for the parade. But she's sending me a text, oh, we parked down in here, and we're going to do this and that. And I'm like, what alternate universe am I in when my wife cares about a championship parade?
That's why it's big to win a championship,
exactly.
right?
That's exactly
there's
right.
There's a million people like that.
People who don't even give a rip about baseball are swept up in it. It's fantastic for any city, and it's just horrific that it was so fleeting.
Yeah. Last question here on this: will Woodland be a guy now, a contender in these majors, at least on a semi-regular basis, or is he more in the line of a Rich Beam or a Sean Michael?
Well, I think he's a
one-time guy.
He's a better player than them. But if I was going to make odds, I would pick that
he stays at one.
This would be his only major.
We looked at college. This is just
a whole lot of great players who have one
exactly,
major.
And this is what we found.
And zero.
I looked back trying to find of the Power 5 conferences how many guys, how many championships have been produced. 53 golfers have won a major that went to college at one of the Power 5 conference schools. Of those 53, 40 of them only won one. And when I was researching it, I wasn't. You probably are already aware of that. I had no idea, and I kept going, God, guys' names I've heard of. I know Tom Weitzkopf. I'm like, long time names. One. It's hard to win a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to win two.
The difference between 1 and 2 is a big separator. I mean, even two likely gets you in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
1, you got a shot if you really won a bunch of other stuff.
Sure.
Like Jim Furyk's.
Pac-12 had to have the most, right? With
they had to have
Tiger
the
and
most
Phil.
golfers. ACC had the most golfers. They had 14, I think. There are 4 guys went to Wake Forest. 4 guys went to Florida State, including Brooks Koepka.
Wake Forest used to be a huge power in college.
Big Ten's got to have some, thanks to Jack, right?
He has 18 of their 23.
Yeah.
The SEC had 12 golfers, or the Pac-12 had 12 golfers, but the most titles because of Stanford. Tiger, Tom Watson. Somebody else was a big-time guy. Won 5 there. And the fewest golfers was the
Big 12,
Big 10.
Okay.
Big 12, I think, had 11 guys.
Well,
now.
Oklahoma State is a power program, but do they have any guys that won majors?
They had a couple.
Bob Tway won.
Tway won a major. Okay,
I'll look at it. They had
for
2.
Plank never won one, right?
No. The Pac-12 had 39 titles, and the ACC I think had 23. So it was a pretty big.
That's cool.
Gap,
I'd like to see
that. That's because when 2 guys have won 23 or 23 of them combined, that's going to get you out in front.
All right, we're breaking more with Danny Unleashed as we continue here on the program.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is Where Integrity Matters. Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
Oh, there you go, Mick.
Will even float?
Yeah.
Where does the NBA draft rank, Danny, on your hierarchy of drafts to watch?
Oh, I think it's fun to watch and listen to because there are familiar people, and I think the commentary's generally good. The coverage on the radio's always been good. I almost like listening to the radio more than but that's often the case. So it's all right. Drafts in general, if I sit and watch them, I'm cool with it. If I miss it, I'm cool with it.
Right.
Last night I was watching some of it, and then I usually share some television time with my wife, and fortunately/unfortunately, one of the movies that falls into the category of ones that if it's on, I keep on watching, which Major League's in that category. That's a goofy one, but The Great Escape was on.
Oh.
And that's like, okay, I guess we're watching The Great Escape tonight again, honey.
Great Escape, Diner. I know that we're kind of joking around what things can we talk to Danny about, and Mick said something about 80s Astros questions, and I said, Dire Straits songs and quotes from the movie Diner are way up there.
That's absolutely true, but Great Escape,
yeah.
I mean, and watching it again last night, I was like, I wrote a review of it. It's on my website, by the way, if anybody somehow has never seen The Great Escape. But for one of those big all-star movies of which they've made a million through the years, it's probably the best one, I think.
What year did that come
63.
out? Yeah.
And Steve McQueen, who did most of his stunts, although the famous jump over the barbed wire he did not do, for those who have seen the movie.
He didn't do everything in Bullet either. The jumps down the big hill were done by a professional stunt driver.
Same guy, I think.
Same guy, Bill Hickman, that did
right.
the guy that drove the other car in the chase, did the jumps down the street in the Mustang.
But there's probably no cooler character than the Cooler King in The Great Escape, although he doesn't throw the baseball particularly well,
right?
But, which is his signature thing in the movie. So that was what waylaid me a little bit. But I think it was pointed out that by more than one person, and Curtis reiterated it, that watching the draft is so odd because by the next day, a third of the players are going to be on another team.
Yeah.
So
and
I'll tell you what, they talk about in the
is,
NFL, they make everything about the NFL, seem, football people just think football's, impossible to understand for anybody else.
They say
nuclear
football
codes,
every time they don't
say
ever say
football.
ball. They say football. He runs the football.
He's a good football
he passes
player.
The football.
Yeah, it's
But-
an adjective
football.
for everything.
So they talk about the salary cap, and can you imagine being a capologist in the NBA?
I cannot.
I mean, when we hear these trades, they got to clear space, so they have to trade 7 players and they're going to cut 5 of them anyway, but they just have to have them on the off their books so that they can make this particular trade. I mean, the Lakers, what, they have 2 guys under contract right now?
Right. It's like the Heat before they brought LeBron over. And the other thing, they don't help that regard by insisting that the players go up there and under the flag of the team that had this pick initially. It's just so dumb. DeAndre Hunter walks up there, big